This is not a drill. Altseason 2025 is loading, and in this video, I'm going to show you the 7 altcoins that will absolutely crush it this bull run. I'm not talking about 2 or a 3x gain from here. I'm talking about altcoins that will separate themselves from the rest of the market when alt season hits full force. And by the end of this video, you're going to figure out very quickly why I've spent some serious money on each and every single one of them. Now look, I'm researching crypto for at least 10 hours every single day, and upon the hundreds of altcoins I come across in a week, these 7 clearly stand out to me like Alex Becker and a mankini at church. And if you're disappointed at the end of this video because I didn't mention an altcoin that maybe you own or maybe I've spoken about in the past, then don't worry. These lists do change occasionally when an altcoin has good or bad news. So it's just part of the game. But first, let me address the elephant in the room. Are we even going to have an alt season at all? Well, of course, as you may know from being subscribed to this channel, make sure you do that now with the bell turned on. You do not want to miss these when they come out. Then, of course, you know, I believe there'll be an alt season, okay? If you have a look here, basically at Bitcoin USD and Bitcoin Gold, you can clearly see where we are right now is like a very similar time to what we were at back in September of 2020. We've highlighted it right here. Not to mention, again, we've touched the bottom sort of trend line here like we did back over here as well. And if I actually add in this great indicator we have in the private community called the Fib multiplier, so it's looking at Fibonacci levels, it's actually in the blue zone. You can see here where we are right now as well. What I've also looked at here as confluence is a Bitcoin Gold. And Bitcoin Gold allows us to look at these cycles through a different lens, allows us to kind of see things that looking at a chart like this can't really allow us to. And again, just like where we were back here, this screams we're at the exact same point in time as well, right after the lows from the freak pandemic. Okay, we had the recent lows from the tariffs here as well. We had this hump consolidation, and then we've kind of had a second hump here as well, which is what we had over here. Now, this chart I do share quite frequently actually shows what I'm talking about here. We are literally playing out the exact same cycle regarding Bitcoin to gold. But the main thing we're concerned with is, of course, when alt season. Now, this is pretty important to assess because alt season in the last bull run didn't come around all that long after where we are right now, at least where I think we are right now compared to the previous cycle. But you can see we're on the others chart right now. So it's just altcoins excluding the top 10. And you can see back in September of 2020, at that exact point in time over here to the high, altcoins on average went up around a 15x. So the question I'm going to try to answer now before getting into these 7 altcoins is, how many gains will we expect to come for altcoins this time around? If you have a look at the total 3 minus USD chart here, which looks at every single altcoin excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT, it's expected we kind of extend roughly to around $4.3 trillion, because this is approximately 350% gain, which is approximately the gain we saw here in the cup on this bullish cup and handle pattern, which normally we do see this pattern kind of play out and extend to. We also do have an ascending triangle, really 2 major bullish signals here, signaling we may have a pretty large explosion for altcoins soon. Now, if I look at altcoins over total 3, so basically saying others versus this chart, what we get here is a pretty interesting oscillation. Okay, what we get here is essentially this going up into alt season, down, up, down, up, down, up, kind of around this midpoint here of 0.4, which is 40%. And what that means is altcoins, so every altcoin excluding the top 10, roughly speaking, has around 40% of the market cap of this. So where I'm going with this is, if we roughly know, again, it's a rough gauge, of course, it's all a prediction, that this could go to a 4.3 trillion market cap, what we can do is use these 3 levels. We can use the high, the low, and the average to work out roughly where we can expect the altcoin market cap to go to. And these 3 numbers come back out between 1.4 trillion and 2.3 trillion, with around the average being about 1.7 trillion, aka roughly a 5.5x gain. So that kind of answers the question. We can expect roughly, if this plays out, a 5.5x on most altcoins. Now, what I'm going to do now is take this chart and zoom out, and we actually get some pretty interesting information. First of all, just by law, what normally happens in cycles is we have diminishing returns. And what I found super interesting is the fact that we broke the rough all-time high in the previous cycle from the open and close here. okay, we actually went up around 350%. Now, if the same thing happens again this time around, okay, so if this chart actually ends up happening, we go up here from the cup and handle 350%, what happens is we actually match the previous cycle's gains. So by diminishing returns doesn't really make sense. The key difference here is that, number one, okay, it would actually match up really nicely with this trend line that we have here. Okay, so it would kind of, I guess, make sense to top out at that point if we do go that far. But it makes sense we could, because we actually have a lot more users, all right? So back here in 2018, we had 50 million users. We 10x that in the last cycle to 500 million. It's expected we have, roughly speaking, 1.1 billion users now. Not to mention, we also have a whole bunch of more catalysts, just like these ETFs here for both Ethereum and Bitcoin, which means we just have more money on the sidelines. And now, of course, more recently, we've got strategic reserves buying Bitcoin, ETH. Some of you may say, Kyron, we have a lot more coins in circulation, okay, versus the previous. What I'll tell you is that if you actually have a look at what coins are legitimate, actually usable, and what people may actually want to buy, it's far less than the couple million that CoinMarketCap says we actually have. In April of this year, we had roughly 10,500 active and legitimate cryptocurrencies. Now, money isn't evenly distributed in markets, meaning that with all these 10,000 coins, when Altseason comes, it's not evenly distributed among the top 10 coins right through to the bottom 3,000 coins. When Altseason starts, the top 10 coins lose market cap and the others gain proportionate market cap depending on where they are. We actually track this in the private community. The bottom 1,000 coins, which makes up over 95% of all the coins in existence, actually have pretty much nothing, 0.9% of all the capital, whereas the top 10 coins have 0.03% of all the coins in existence, yet they actually hold 88, almost 89% of the entire market cap. So if we then take the coins in circulation, okay, we take all the coins we know in circulation, and we actually have a look at the market caps of the different, parts of the different cycles, we get something really interesting. Cut a long story short, essentially, we're looking at ratios. In the previous cycles, right, back in 2018, when we had 1,359 coins, okay, back over here, the market cap back then, at least on this chart, was 350 billion. So the ratio was roughly 257 million. So if you were to actually go ahead and make all of the coins nice and evenly distributed, all of them would have $250 million invested in each. The previous cycle, the ratio was much less. In this cycle, if we do actually get to this 4.3 trillion number that we speak about possibly happening over here, what's interesting is the ratio will actually be higher than what it was back in 2018 if we double the amount of coins in circulation. Remember, as of April, we only had 10,500 active. So I'm talking about a huge jump up here in active tokens. So I highly doubt it'll even be this much, which again means that we just have so much more money possibly around in this cycle. For those of you rightfully asking, what's the global market cap have to be at in order for us to have this be $4.3 trillion? Well, the answer is not that much. I think a lot of people are expecting around a 12 to 14 trillion market cap, and some people are expecting anywhere from around an 8 to 9 trillion global market cap. Either way, I'm saying if we go to a 10 trillion market cap, which from here is only a 2.5x in the global market cap, if we have a look at the two previous all-time highs, Ethereum's percentage usually sits around 20% at the highs, whilst Bitcoin's falls to around 40%. So given that, Bitcoin will have roughly 4 trillion market cap, ETH will have 2 trillion, and the total 3 minus USDT will have the rest at around 4 trillion. That's not far off the 4.3 trillion expectation we can see here. So yes, it definitely is possible. We've also come this far in the global market cap without expansion. Okay, so it would kind of make sense once we do have a situation like previously that causes the blow off top moment over here. Okay, so expansion in the business cycle that would actually have a very rapid growth in the global market cap. You can kind of see this over here. We have alt seasons, all right, towards the peak of the expansion phase. Julian Battelle, okay, one of the well-respected macroeconomists that's working with Raoul Pal, actually said right now nearly 90% of central banks are cutting rates. It's a massive tailwind for the business cycle. Again, the business cycle here being this chart. And of course, we know the Fed's likely to cut here in September with a possibility of 50 basis points. It's a hard one to really gauge. PPI actually came in a little bit better than expected, okay? So it came in lower than the estimated, which is really, really good. We do have, a CPI coming in here today, actually. So depending on how this is, it will, price in or cut out entirely a possibility of a 50 basis point cut. But I do think 25 is probably likely, considering we had a large revision of minus 900,000 jobs, okay, in the US, which is, of course, short-term bearish, but what that means is there's a more likely chance the Fed will want to cut. Frankie does a great job of breaking this down. I'd highly recommend subscribing to No BS Macro. I'll leave the links down below. But like Andrew Tyler here mentions from JP Morgan, and as I mentioned about a month or so ago, a lot of this altcoin move does feel to me like the market's pricing in a 25 basis point cut. So I'm holding some cash right now to buy the dip if we actually see a 25 basis point cut and a more sell than use event. These altcoins I'm mentioning today, again, I have no doubt they will do well in this bull run unless something crazy, rapidly random happens in between now and when the alt season kind of starts. But one thing we have to assess, guys, I can't stress this enough, is narratives. In previous cycles, all coins pumped together. Okay, that's just simply how it was. In the last cycle, okay, 2021, you can see these individual spikes here, these different colors. These were different narratives pumping at different times. We had DeFi here, we had gaming here, we had layer ones here. We can see this again kind of happening more recently as well. And so it's important we look at coins and areas that will do the best and that we kind of cover a wide variety so we're always making money no matter what part of the cycle. Also, market caps, you guys know the risk curve, altcoins at the very, very end of like a traditional investor's portfolio. Well, actually, if we dive in deeper, altcoins themselves can be broken up in different market cap sections. All right, so top 10 altcoins are less risky than minus 200 top altcoins. But the minus 200 altcoins, so anything page 3 down, is going to just get you more returns as we have already established. As I've pointed out many times on this channel as well, we can actually see this when we create the index here for different areas. Top 20 altcoins are vastly outperforming even the top 20 to 100 altcoins, which are vastly outperforming the basically anything from page 2 on CoinMarketCap down. They're way down here. The larger market caps are doing better right now because that's the path to alt season playing out. But eventually these will randomly catch up and shoot up like this. You kind of have to make sure you pick very carefully. My goal now is to share as much information on these 7 coins as possible so that we can get this video done and you can get researching essentially. If you just check out this channel, you'll find a lot of information on these coins. So again, make sure you are subscribed with that bell on. First of all is Chainlink. We'll kind of start large market cap and go down again. Coin number 7 may actually be the best returns in this whole list. So Chainlink's ranked number 12 right now. Don't let that disappoint you and sway you. I actually think Chainlink can go above $200 in this bull run. If you actually have a look at the catalyst, first of all, they've recently launched something called the Chainlink Reserve. This is essentially printing money for the holders. What they're doing is getting all of the revenue that comes through either on-chain or off-chain, and they're essentially getting Chainlink on the open market. They're literally buying Chainlink from you and from sellers, which doesn't usually happen with utility in crypto. They started 1 month ago with around 65,000 Chainlink in this reserve, and now they have 200,000. Imagine in another month, 2 months, 3 months, especially if this ramps up. And guys, let me tell you, this is actually contributing to the buy pressure. This is literally them pumping your bags. They also had Grayscale file an ETF with the SEC as well. Huge stuff, of course, just more buy pressure coming through. And they were recently tapped on the shoulder by the US government, as well as PIF actually, to publish economic data on chain, particularly GDP, personal consumption expenditures, and also private domestic purchases as well. So a few very important things here. They're working with the US government. You can't be more bullish. Now, can you mention Chainlink without mentioning Ondo? Okay, it's far smaller. It's like whatever the hell that is, 6-7 times smaller than Chainlink at rank 40. So more upside potential. I don't think much less risk. To be honest, Ondo's a pretty safe bet in my opinion on financial advice. I do see this coin going well above $7-8. I think honestly even $10, but it's not a price prediction video. So the reason why I love this coin so much is because it's in the tokenization narrative, just as Chainlink is, and that's kind of the hot thing at the moment. They recently launched their tokenized stock, so the Ondo Global Markets, finally. right? So it's allowing people in sort of any other country or area apart from really the US to be able to buy things like Apple, Tesla, as well as ETFs and also some indices as well. Trust Wallet, which has 200 million users, also integrated this as well. So it's unlocking more possibilities. This will just grow and grow and grow. You can actually see all of these current tokenized stocks, about 300 right now already tokenized. Some have more invested than others, some don't. But again, it's the very, very start. Have a look at their partners. The list goes on, and they're all massive names. Again, they're working with Chainlink to also make this a reality. So if you're looking to tokenize stocks as like an investment, I think Ondo, Chainlink, you can't go wrong. Okay, so now we're going to step down the market caps a little further and go from rank 40 with Ondo down to rank 56 with Sei. Okay, so I love Sei because it's kind of like a small SUI. It's got a lot of the characteristics, a lot of the building metrics to prove to me that this is an undervalued layer one right now. It also dabbles in DeFi and sort of tokenization as well, big backers as well. But they recently had a Canary Spot staked ETF filed, which is huge. Just like one of the coins I mentioned in 1 second, staked ETFs could be massive because institutions do love a little bit of yield. Daily active addresses as well, trending to the top right-hand corner, which is really good to see. Also daily transactions, so daily users versus daily transactions. These guys are top 10 right now at rank number 8 with 5.4 million daily active transactions, or just daily transactions really. Also, the TVL is increasing, which is a good sign as well. It's just basically all green lights as far as the ecosystem actually being used and flourishing. So again, it's a small project right now at around a 2 billion market cap. So there is room to grow, I think. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sei above $5. So we're going from rank 56 down to rank 66 here with Injective. Now, this kind of hits multiple different narratives. So as we spoke about earlier, you want to hit as many as you can. And so Injective actually does hit multiple without you having to buy multiple coins. It's AI, DeFi, layer one, and in real world assets as well. So it hits a broad range of, sort of narratives that allows you to diversify within one coin. Now, if we have a look here, there's some really bullish things recently. Like I said before, there's been a treasury company kind of spawned up recently here with $100 million allocated to actually go ahead and buy Injective on the open market. So that's positive buy pressure here. And that's Pineapple Financial, again, solely accumulating Injective. So obviously their investors in this particular treasury can have access to Injective and, of course, likely Injective yield as well. Just like Sei as well, Canary Capital did at least file for an ETF, a staked ETF as well. Again, really big stuff, unlocking traditional finance. I did a full breakdown on Injective somewhat recently, 3 weeks ago. It's worth watching this video if you did want to learn more about Injective. We're going from rank 66 down to rank 79 now with Aerodrome Finance, a 1 billion market cap coin. This coin has so much potential. Honestly, I think above $10 to $15 possible for this coin. That's if it just matches the growth of its competitors from the previous cycle. I think this coin has so much more potential, and I'll tell you why in a second. One of the really good growth factors of Aerodrome is the revenue. So these guys aren't ranked top 10 like they were recently. They're down here in the depths of rank 12, okay? So $15 million in revenue over the last 30 days. Now, that's important because this essentially is like the top performing coin on base regarding revenue. Destroys the competition, and that's because it's the best and really most useful DEX, most sort of intuitive DEX on base. So it's capturing a lot of the demand coming through the base ecosystem. And like I pointed out in a recent video, base expanding now and creating the base app, which is going to unlock hundreds of millions of possible users. Aerodrome has been selected as the kind of de facto DEX for anyone who wants to buy any altcoins on the base ecosystem. Okay, so you have to go through Aerodrome. That's more fees. More fees is more revenue. More revenue means more people coming in wanting to actually stake up and lock up. And this ultimately brings in more interest from us investors. So I'm really, really bullish on Aerodrome, and especially if you're bullish on the base ecosystem, I don't think you want to look too much further. Aethir is our next coin here at rank 113, a 580 million market cap. This coin's had a really fantastic week, okay? It's kind of like pumped up almost 2x here as DPIN sort of caught up. So what Aethir does is allows people to rent out GPU power, kind of provides an infrastructure for AI, gaming, and other sort of areas. They're also somewhat in tokenization now as well, but that's a different story. I do not think anyone should be buying based on my videos or anyone's videos. Do your research, wait for dips, plenty more opportunities, right? But again, I want to stress the point, I would not be buying this right now. You want to be buying these coins like when I make videos back in, August, when the coin's at like, 3 cents, for example. All right. So again, look for red. Don't look for green. Red means go. Green means stop. It's the opposite in markets. Okay. I love Aethir so much, not just because it's a great project. I think it has a lot of application in today's day and age with like kind of the resurgence of AI and kind of the depletion of GPUs. But it's got $155 million in annual recurring revenue, which means that's like 1/3 or 1/4 of its market cap in just revenue. They're in 93 locations, so they're nice and diverse all around the world. Plus, they have 400,000 GPUs all around the world. They're being used. They're everywhere. Okay, it's just right now this market cap is quite low, which is obviously a pretty good sign, right? Now, I think Aethir can very easily do above a 50-cent token price, which is roughly a 10x from here. Our last coin, the one that could potentially get the most returns on this list by far, that's still, I think, a very safe coin, is Keeta. These guys are a layer 1 in tokenization, working with some really big names. Eric Schmidt is one of the backers, who is the former CEO of Google. Big stuff. So very small market cap, big potential, 10 million TPS verified. I know, it's kind of crazy, right? I'm bullish on Keeta for many different reasons. Number one is they're not even on any centralized exchanges really yet. They're likely going to be added to Coinbase here very soon, which those of you who know usually means a pretty good price jump for the coin. A lot more people have access to it. You can see here, it's really not on anything apart from Aerodrome, which is a decentralized exchange. So it's, kind of harder for people to actually buy. So that's obviously a really good thing for when it does start launching on exchanges. They also recently removed 40% of the tokens from the supply. This was mainly from the team and early investors, which they're not going to be selling. It is not intended for public sale. So basically their vesting schedule here has kind of like just plateaued. Like it's a flat line, like no more tokens really are coming into circulation over the next 12 months. So for the rest of the possible bull market. So, really we're not concerned here with any large sell-offs from investors. This is an unbelievable thing. Okay. So a really big tick, not to mention they have a mainnet that's less than 2 weeks away. So yes, right now they're on base, okay, as an actual smart contract, but now they're finally launching their layer 1 with a whole bunch of functionalities. Big stuff, and I think Keeta is one of the underdogs of this cycle for sure. That's the list done. If you're asking, Kyron, why no AI? Well, the reason why is because AI is lagging right now. As I said earlier on in the video, this list can chop and change. Most of these coins end up staying on like my top 10 list, period. But some can move in and out periodically, and that's simply because, again, like AI, for example, I love NIA, I love ICP, I love Render, all right? I'm starting to like the Tensor Tau, for example. But if you have a look at these coins versus Ethereum in white here, they're like 45% down, which is even further down than some of the other, top 100 altcoins. So this is one of my main reasons. If you have a look, the AI coins don't really start on CoinMarketCap here until Tensor and NIA Protocol at rank 35, rank 40. So these aren't like top 20 coins just yet. We haven't broken into that, but I guarantee you right now, AI will make a resurgence, and this might even be the best narrative of the bull run. So don't hold out if you hold any of those AI coins. It's okay. They're just not in season right now. It's okay. So with that being said, thank you all for watching this video, especially right to the very end. I know it was a long one, but I appreciate your time a lot. And if you made it this far, hit a like down below, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.